Good morning. It's quite early right now. I ain't looking the most refreshed, but that's okay. Let's talk about some ego. So, this is my experience, and I'm hoping that other people can probably find some relatability in this. So, when I grew up, obviously, I didn't have the most confidence in my life. Joined the military, sense of self, cool, because that's what the ego is the sense of self, right? So I started matching into this place that gave me a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging, around people with like-minded beliefs and everything else. The unit I was with is I'm weary of talking about the military because I don't know what I can say, but I believe this is going to be okay. So the unit I was with was part of the Chosen Three, as they call it, uh, quotation marks. That means that it's the three pathways that lead to the Special Forces Support Group. So one of the phrases that got passed around often was, "You're better than a civvy." And that was really etched into us. And to a degree, that was right in what we did, we were. And it was also wrong because there was a lot of things we weren't good at. And I think that's the part that really got missed on my younger self. So I would go out on, let's say, go buy a guitar. This is a very memorable moment for me. I went to buy an acoustic guitar, and this is when I was in the military. And I remember walking around this town, and I felt so superior to everyone, like I was better than everyone. And I didn't really necessarily talk down on people, but I didn't really give them. I gave them respect, but it was almost fake. I don't know how else to word that. And that's kind of where I was at with how I spoke to civilians for the longest time. Then I got out the military, and that whole thing, I spent 7.5 years being like, yeah, civvies suck. And then I became a civilian, and I was around civilians, and my boss was a civilian, and my partner was a civilian, and my friends were civilians. And that was a really weird place to be because I was incredibly confident. Incredibly confident. I really did feel quite superior in many ways because of my experiences, my training. Now, as the years went on, that sense of self, once again, ego, sense of self, that sense of self started crumbling because the military version of me and the persona I had around that crumbled. I couldn't be that man anymore. It didn't function in the real world. So when my ego eventually spontaneously combusted, that's kind of that mental breakdown experience that I had was realistically that ego dying. And when I speak to military lads nowadays, a lot of them are still kind of in that military mode. If all they talk about is the military, they're still kind of in the military. They haven't grown out of that. And I really don't blame them because no one teaches you how to transition to be a civilian. And once you're in, you're kind of always in. So once I emerged out of the hellfire that was that ego death, I started getting into spirituality, of course, chakras, and I'm not even joking about that. That was definitely a phase. And one of these statements out there was, your ego's bad. Like you shouldn't have no ego. And I really believe that, and I really tried consuming that. And I remember going through the comment sections at the time and the subreddits and all these other things, and it was like, yeah, ego's bad. And that was a common belief. And I don't know if that's still a common belief, but that really shouldn't be a common belief because that's our identity. That's who we are. We have to build a healthy ego. See, I think the part that was missing was like bad ego, like toxic ego, like overconfidence ego. That's kind of the bad ego. What you want to build is ego, a sense of self, but one that is actually founded in confidence, compassion, care, and love, and every other positive thing that can be full of. Because when I was in that military state, I definitely didn't treat people as well as I could. I didn't treat them as equals. I definitely looked down on people. I was more, what can I get from people compared to what can I give them? And that's not everyone, but as like, if I didn't know you, it wasn't the healthiest relationship. So with this ego situation, what I discovered is I had to build a healthy one. And that wasn't like an epiphany. That was just a gradual climb until I got to more later years when I was like, this is what all of that meant. So let's say you're working in the warehouse. You are probably one of the best people in a warehouse compared to someone that's never worked in a warehouse. You would have an ego around that. You could have an ego around that. If someone came in that didn't know anything to do with the warehouse, you'd be like, I'm superior to this person. That's kind of where it's at. Now, true confidence and healthy ego, in my belief structure, is having belief in yourself that you're not special. Like, you can have some really good skills, but you're still human. You're not superior to anyone else. If you're a doctor, I mean, doctors, that is quite a skill. It takes a lot of work to get there. Of course, they're going to feel superior. And I think that's a common notion out there, and that's ego, right? Create a strong sense of self within yourself that you believe that you're enough. And you don't need to prove to other people how awesome you are. I think that's the answer to a lot of our suffering is we want to have the fastest car because we want to prove to people how awesome we are. We want to have the hottest partner because that is important to how people perceive us. This is all the ego part, right? And once we kind of get to the point where like, I'll have this hoodie, why not? It's got a hole in it, sure, why not? Why does that matter? Okay, public opinion, maybe not so appreciate that. I'm working right now. It's like, okay, it's really not that big of a deal. Compared to where I was in the past, where it was like I had to have the nicest car, I had to have the nicest clothes, I had to have the hottest partner, I had to have everything the best to prove to other people how cool I was. Ego. Because the reality was, inside, behind all of that mask, I was an insecure kid who didn't really know who he was and what he liked, and he was just putting up all these fronts, so no one ever came close enough to discovering what that was. Ego is okay. I'd like to touch on it more over a series of videos at some point, but the more you find yourself, the healthier your ego is going to be. And the healthier your ego is going to be, the more of a stable, well-rounded person you're going to be. So yeah, figured I'll throw this out here. We're going to be back in our usual nature come next week. Just bear with me. Some turbulence, and have a wonderful day. See you later.